What's going on YouTube? Tom here. We're back with another video today. This is going to be the last video with this beautiful knife we have in front of us. This is the Holt Specter that is on loan to me by Vextos. I will put his Instagram down in the description below. Thank you again, Angelo, for loaning me this knife for a cut test and review. If you guys haven't seen the cut test, go back and watch that first and see how this thing does for a pretty expensive knife, an M390. So let's get right into the Specter here. We're going to do some specs here, specs on the Specter. And first off, the blade is 3.56 inches of M390 with 3.5 inches of cutting edge. Handle is 4.54 inches for an overall length of 8 1/8 inch. The handle thickness is 0.45 inches and the blade stock is 0.12, and the tallness when closed from here to here is 1.05 inches, so a pretty compact knife in the pocket, which is always nice. Let's do some size comparisons here real quick. We have a Spyderco Manix 2, so you can see they're right about in the same ballpark as far as length goes, but the Manix is a much bigger overall knife. Benchmade Anthem, kind of a similar knife overall as well. Same size. Chris Reeve, Large and Cosi, again, real similar overall size. These are terrible size comparisons. We'll get to something smaller here. ProTech SBR, so the SBR is quite a bit smaller, as you guys can see. That's probably a little bit better of a size comparison here. Spyderco Native 5, again, just a little bit bigger than that. And a knife that I think everyone has at least owned at some point, Ontario Rat number 1, so a little bit smaller than an Ontario Rat 1. With that out of the way, let's get into my likes and dislikes on this particular knife. So my first like here is the blade. So what I really like about the blade is the shape. It's a really good overall shape for a user. The grind is super nice. So this is a full flat grind. Normally I talk about if I like the geometry or not. The geometry on this is just kind of average. With the 0.12 inch blade stock, it only comes down to, I think it's 20 thousandths behind the edge right now, at 20 degrees per side. So I mean, it's good, but it's not great. But it is a pretty darn good cutter. And the other thing, as you guys can see here, that I really absolutely love is the blade finish. It's like this beautiful mirror stone wash, and it actually held up really good during cut tests. I was kind of concerned that this thing was going to show some scratches or wear from the cut test, because cardboard can scratch a blade up a little bit, but this shows absolutely nothing. And if there is scratches, it blended in perfectly with the stone wash. So that's just an absolutely gorgeous finish to look at and to use, honestly. My next like is the handle. And first off on the handle is the milling. That's kind of the thing on this knife, is the milling is just insane. If you guys can take a look at that nice little pattern that they have milled in here, it's just awesome. Another thing I like is the ano on this. So I'm not sure if he custom spec this out to be this color or not, but this is one of my absolute favorite colors on knives, this bright like neon toxic green. It looks awesome. Just really makes everything pop. And then he has the purple hardware as well. The hardware actually is super nice. If you take a closer look, it has purple on the top, and then it still has the green up underneath, which is really, really cool. Same with the clip. That's purple to match everything else that is green, and there is a hidden screw there, which is awesome. The other thing is the shape. So the overall shape of this handle is very comfortable, very ergonomic. It's very neutral, which I'm a big fan of, neutral handles, something that doesn't force my hand into a certain position, and this is actually very, very comfortable. The only thing I don't really like is this little swell right here. Doesn't really fit my hand the greatest, but it's not too bad at all. I didn't really notice it in cut testing. And that's about the most use anyone's got to put a knife, through, taking it till it's completely dull. The other thing is the milled landing area up here on top of the flipper tab. So when you're flipping, you don't hit this portion, you hit this nice little milled, beveled area, and your finger just kind of slides right off, which is awesome. The backspacer is also incredible on this knife. If you take a look, it honestly doesn't even look like it's a backspacer. It looks like it's an integral knife that they just kind of milled portions out. But this is a backspacer, and it just fits perfectly. Purple accents on the sides and the tops of those little that gear pattern, and it just looks awesome. They did awesome on that, and obviously it's one solid chunk of titanium, so it feels super solid. So great job on that. The interior milling on this knife is really nice too. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. You guys can see a little bit of it there, and this backside is actually all one giant milled section. You guys can kind of see it down here on this side. Really, really awesome. Helps reduce the weight on this knife. It's actually super light for its size. Very cool. The other thing you guys might have seen when we're looking in here is you do have your serial number milled inside, or etched inside of there, as well as the number of knives. So this is Specter number 208. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see it. Probably not. But it does say Holt Bladeworks Specter revised up on the top, because this is the V2. I'm not totally sure what all the differences are between the V2, V3, all that good stuff, but this is the V2. The profile on this one, it's closed, is also awesome. It's nice and thin in your pocket, so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. The flipper tab is super nice, really good shape. Has an adequate amount of jimping on it, and we'll talk about the jimping here in just a second. But the flipper tab just works excellent. I haven't slipped off of it once, and that's perfect. That's how a flipper tab should be. Back to the jimping. The jimping on the top and the flipper tab are like, it's kind of fine. It's not quite as fine as like Spyderco jimping. It's more like the Chris Reeve jimping, but it's more rounded off. So it's got grip, but it doesn't really dig into your fingers. They did a really good job with that. Same jimping on the flipper tab as well. The clip is also nice. I've said it before that I'm not really a huge fan of 3D milled clips, but it seems like every knife I've had in with a 3D milled clip so far or lately has been awesome. This one just has a ton of ramp. It's nice and thin up here, so it does have a decent amount of spring, and it slides in and out of your pocket super easily. This brings me to arguably my favorite part about this knife is the detent. I'm going to have you guys take a look inside of here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but it's not really a detent ball. It's more like a detent bar that they welded in there, or it's like the detent ball if it was flat. So it provides this awesome like click. It gives like this really mechanical feeling. It's just a really unique sound, and that's not something that's really around too much with all the frame lock flippers going around. This is something that sets it apart and made it different for me. So that is awesome. Also, as you guys saw, the action is just absolutely nutty on this knife. So it just drops shut, doesn't need any help whatsoever. Crazy. This is the best action I've ever seen on a knife or ever had in my hands personally. And I should mention there is absolutely zero blade play. So that is freaking crazy. I can't believe how smooth and frictionless this knife is. Kind of scary, honestly, after I've sharpened it. You don't want that blade coming down on my fingers. So they did a really, really awesome job with that. Fit and finish is perfect. As you guys would expect, I couldn't find one single thing that was off as far as fit and finish. Blade centered perfectly. The steel in this knife is also really good. M390, as you guys saw in the cut test. If you guys want to go see the results of that, obviously go check that out. The last thing on this knife, I feel like this is perfect as far as a knife being an art knife meeting a knife that's meant to be used. So this is like art knife meets user. And it's so cool to see those two worlds blended, because normally you have either a full dress like Damascus and Damasteel knife, or you have something kind of plain like the Nkosi here. But this kind of blends them both. So you have some of the flair of an art knife with all the milling and the ano and the crazy blade finish. But at the same time, you can tell that this thing was designed to be used with the full flat grind and the ergonomic handle. They're really making a knife at this price point that's meant to be used, and I think that's an awesome thing. Now, I do have a couple dislikes, and I might be nitpicking a little bit, but I do have to find a dislike on every knife. The one I didn't even know was going to be a thing until I was doing that extended cutting with it. And the milling on the handle here on the very corners where that milling just kind of terminates became a hot spot down here on the bottom. It just kind of dug into my fingers a little bit. Nothing major. It didn't cause me any blisters or anything like that, but it was something to be noted. The other thing I didn't notice up until I was getting ready to do this review is there is a little bit of exposed edge right here where they have that milled landing area. I can push down and touch the edge if I want to, but with the way this flipper tab is designed, I haven't slipped off of it once, and I don't think that's going to be an issue, but it is something to be noted. And the only other thing that bothers me about this knife that I dislike is when I was cutting with it, I noticed that lock bar had a tendency to slide over, and if you push on it just a little bit, you can watch it travel just a hair, like maybe 20% it'll slide over. And during the cut testing, it did stick a little bit because obviously you're grabbing it kind of hard and pushing kind of hard on that lock bar, and you do get a little bit of stick. But that's pretty much how frame locks work, especially with the steel insert. They tend to slide around a little bit more, so not a huge deal either there. That is all I have for the dislikes, those three minor things. Obviously, this knife is just absolutely fantastic, and I found way more positive things than negative things on this knife. I have to say, at this point, with all the knives I've handled, I think this is the best knife I've ever handled. On the secondary market, these are probably right around $1,000 right now. I know Angelo said that he got them or got this one for like $500 last time he was on their books. I don't think they even do books anymore. I think it's all just lotteries. So at $500, this is a steal for what you're getting. It's just worlds apart from your Nkosi or even the Anthem. It's just a completely different league of knife. It feels very, very premium, and honestly, it just feels like a high-end custom. They did an outstanding job on this knife. With that being said, that's really all I have for this review. I know there's been a lot of reviews lately, and we'll get back into the cut testing pretty heavy here soon. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. Subscribe to continue to see more videos just like this one. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.